These days, 1-year-old Declan is the only one who can keep his parents positive. Otherwise, Kevin and Nicole Knorr are tormented.
We can't sleep. Last night you had a nightmare.
A wire transfer receipt, $775,000, sent in a single transaction, in a single moment, to an account that had nothing to do with the home Kevin and Nicole Knorr were trying to buy. That is where this story starts, and that is what makes it so hard to look away from. Because when you hold that number in your head, when you really let it sit there, you realize that wasn't just money, that was the down payment on a life. 60% of the purchase price of a brand new home in Carlsbad, California, a house with a yard and good schools, and a spare room for the sibling of a 1-year-old boy named Declan. And the Knorrs wired every dollar of it to a hacker who was sitting somewhere on the other side of the world, watching it arrive. And the cruelest part is, they did everything right. They hired a licensed escrow company. They waited for the official wire instructions. They followed those instructions exactly as written. The instructions just weren't from who they thought, and by the time anyone realized that, the money was already gone. So here is exactly how it happened, how a single unsecured email turned a young family's American dream into a nightmare they are still living inside. And here is why the system that was supposed to protect them couldn't catch it, even after the wire left the building. Kevin and Nicole Knorr are a young couple in North County, San Diego, and at the time this happened, they were in the final stretch of buying a home in Carlsbad, expansive new construction, the kind of place you picture when you picture a future, and their 1-year-old son Declan was, by Nicole's own account, the whole reason for it, the yard, the schools, the space for a bigger family, and they were close. They were right there. And records don't show exactly when the hacker first got into the email chain, but what we know from the Knorr's account is that at some point an employee at their escrow company sent the official wire instructions in an unsecured email. A hacker intercepted that email and duplicated the document, same formatting, same official appearance, but with the account numbers swapped out to route funds to a Bitcoin exchange company. Nicole received that document, and it looked real because it was built from something real, and she followed it, because that is what you do when the escrow company sends you wire instructions. You follow them.
A North County couple's American dream quickly turned into a nightmare after wiring nearly $800,000 to who they thought was their escrow agent. Instead, all of that money went to a scammer.
And I remember I just dropped to the floor and
I immediately went to the FBI.
10 News reporter John Horn is joining us now live in the newsroom. And John, that money appears to be gone.
Yeah, and as far as that couple can tell, it's in somebody's account in Singapore. Now, Kevin and Nicole Knorr thought by now they'd be the proud owners of a brand new, expansive Carlsbad home. But today they're living with family in Solana Beach, wondering how so many clues could slip through the cracks and let this scammer get away with it.
Reporter John Horn confirmed on air that the money, all of it, appears to be gone, sitting in somebody's account in Singapore. That sentence alone should stop you cold, because once a wire transfer clears, the window to recover it is not days, it is hours, sometimes less. In this case, that window closed before anyone even knew it needed to be opened. Nicole sent the wire. The bank processed it. No flag, no hold, no mismatch alert. Public reporting provides very little explanation for why the routing discrepancy didn't trigger a review, but it didn't, and $775,000 moved out of the Knorr's account and into the hands of a scammer without a single automated system catching it. And then the phone rang.
Then we get a phone call. Where did you send your wire? I said, to you guys. What do you mean to you guys?
This is the moment the entire case turns on, and Nicole describes it exactly. The escrow company called, and the question they asked was not a confirmation, it was a question she wasn't prepared for. They asked where she had sent the wire, and she said, to you guys. And they replied, "What do you mean, to you guys?" In that exchange, in that single back and forth, everything collapsed because the escrow company had never sent her wire instructions. They didn't know where she had sent the money, and she had just told them she sent it somewhere they had no record of. The gap between those two realities, what she believed and what was actually true, was $775,000 wide.
They called back. They called back to tell me what time the notary would be here the next day to sign our loan docs.
The couple now reeling, seeking their legal options, looking back on how something like this could happen.
And here is the part that still haunts this family, because Nicole also describes a second call. A call from the escrow company after she had already sent the wire. The subject of that call was not the wire at all, it was scheduling. They called to ask what time the notary would be coming the next day to sign the loan documents, a routine administrative call. That call happened during the exact window when the wire was still potentially recoverable, and the transfer never came up because nobody on that call knew to bring it up. The conversation ended, the window closed, and the money was gone.
And I remember I just dropped to the floor and
I immediately went to the FBI.
When the full reality hit, Nicole says she just dropped to the floor, her words not an embellishment, not a dramatization, just a person whose legs stopped working when the scale of what had happened became undeniable. There is no dramatic confrontation in this story, no villain in the room, no moment where you could have stepped in and physically stopped it. Just a woman on the floor of a house she was never going to live in, because the house in Carlsbad was gone too, and Kevin and Nicole Knorr went to the FBI. The couple is now staying with family in Solana Beach, and they say they can't sleep. Kevin and Nicole describe a night where one of them had a nightmare, and the one thing, the only thing, keeping them positive is Declan, who is 1 year old and has no idea any of this happened. That detail is almost unbearable if you let yourself sit with it, because all of this was for him, the yard, the schools, the future, and a 1 year old is now the emotional anchor for two people whose entire financial foundation just disappeared. A 1 year old. That is what is holding this family together right now.
Californians are the biggest target of this scam. One way to protect yourself from this is not to accept wire instructions over email. Instead, call that escrow agent that you know that you've been working with and get that over the phone.
The FBI confirmed they are investigating, and they also confirmed this is not an isolated case. Californians are the single biggest target of this type of scam, and the Bureau's guidance is direct. Do not accept wire instructions over email. Call the escrow agent you know. Get the instructions confirmed by voice. Verify before you move a dollar.
The FBI says Americans have lost more than $12 billion to these scams since 2013.
And the scale of what that warning represents becomes clear when you hear the number Horn reports. Americans have lost more than $12 billion to these scams since 2013, $12 billion. And the Knorr's $775,000 is just one line in that ledger, one family in a pattern that the FBI has been tracking for over a decade and still hasn't stopped. What makes the Knorr's case even sharper is that this was not the first time 10 News had reported on this exact scam in this exact area. The previous July, a Carlsbad family nearly lost their down payment to the same scheme, and they were spared only because their bank flagged a routing number mismatch before the wire cleared, the same type of check that should have, and didn't, protect the Knorr's. And public reporting provides very little explanation for why one bank caught it and one didn't. But the difference in outcome is everything. One family kept their money, and one family is sleeping in someone else's house. The Knorr's money was reportedly routed through a Bitcoin exchange and from there to an account in Singapore. And as of the time of this reporting, no recovery has been publicly confirmed. It appears to be gone. The couple asked media not to name the escrow company while they weigh their legal options, and no outcomes in that process have been confirmed. The FBI has opened an investigation, but no charges or arrests were confirmed in available reporting, and it is worth saying plainly, the FBI having a strong case to investigate is not the same thing as getting the money back. Those are two different things. And for a family that wired their entire down payment into a void, the distinction matters enormously. They set up a GoFundMe. The amount raised is not publicly confirmed in available records. Kevin and Nicole Knorr followed every instruction they were given. The instructions were a fabrication built on top of a real document, and the system, the bank, the escrow process, the unsecured email chain didn't stop it. They didn't make a reckless decision. They made a completely reasonable decision based on completely fraudulent information, and that is what makes this case so hard to shake, because there is no obvious moment where you say, I would have caught that. There is only a document that looked exactly like what it was supposed to be, and an account number that didn't. Sometimes the scam isn't the obvious one. Sometimes it hides in a PDF attached to an email that looks exactly like every other email you've gotten from your escrow company. If you are in the process of buying a home right now, stop before you wire anything and call your escrow agent directly on a number you found yourself, not a number from any email. Confirm the wire instructions out loud by voice, and if anything feels even slightly off, pause the transfer before it leaves, because once that money moves, the window to get it back closes in minutes, not days. Stay sharp.